And one of the really important things for me is that we really are celebrating her. Some of my friends asked if they should wear black, and I said no. Color, color, color. We're happy. She lived a great life. We're sad we lost her. So we're serving the salad. We're sorry we're getting started a little bit late. There's three, as I had come home from the hospital and found things left out. One of the things was she bought greeting cards ahead of time and took time choosing them, and she had them sorted according to subject, and there were some for sympathy cards, and so I know that these words all meant something to her. She wouldn't have bought them. And so I chose three, and Alex and Nicole and I are each going to read one, and I'm kind of going to do that in place of grace. Please eat. You can listen and eat. We're going to serve the salad, then have a buffet lunch, and then have a served dessert. And in that time, myself, my brother Jimmy, and my sister Julie are going to give our eulogies, okay? And really, from the bottom of my heart, every single one of you is here because you mean something to someone in my family or directly to my mom. And the room is filled with love and happiness and laughter and joy, and that's what she would want, okay? So either Nicole or Alex, one of you can start. This is my mom's favorite American Indian prayer that she has liked for many, many years and given as gifts, and Nicole's going to read it.
I give you this one thought to keep. I am with you still. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift, uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not think of me as gone. I am with you still in each new dawn. Yeah.
There's a place I've never seen beyond this world we know, a place I've only heard of, but someday hope to go. It's not on any map, there are no roads to take me there, but it's a place of perfect peace where hearts are free from care. And though I understand some may be saddened when I leave, one day we'll all meet again, that's what I believe. When it's time to travel there, I think I'll wear a smile. I'll say goodbye to those I love, but only for a while. Knowing there are others who have traveled there alone, who cannot wait to greet me and whisper, welcome home.
And believe it or not, she has one that's called A Mother's Love is Forever. I read it over several times so that I wouldn't cry, so I don't know, I'll try. As children, we can't comprehend or fully realize the meaning of our mother's love, how tender and how wise, the patience and forgiveness that are part of every day, the unexpected little things she does in her own way. Years go by before we can look back on life and see through older eyes and wiser hearts her love and loyalty. And yet, it's these and other special things we'll hold so dear, for memories of her steadfast love will keep us ever near. And I think that any mother in here could relate to this and feel the warmth and the love. And I know my brothers and Julie and I certainly do. And we talked a lot about the peacock. I hope that everybody got one and that they read a little bit of what I wrote. It really meant something to her. And the Archangel Michael, on the back, she was hoping that if I shared with everybody what it meant or how you could turn to him, that maybe more of us would. So that's all in this for you. Thank you, and please have a wonderful meal.
Thank you.
Cheers. And now I don't know well, that's what I wanted to
At first, I was sure if I wanted to give the speech because I knew I would probably cry. Then I realized that no one else could tell my story. When I was born, the doctor told my parents that I had an extra chromosome and was Down syndrome. And then he told them to take me home and raise me with their other children. I am the youngest of 5, and because I am Down syndrome, I have always lived with my parents, and after my dad died from Alzheimer's in 2008, it has just been the 2 of us. My mom and I, over the years together, I went almost everywhere with them. We traveled to Italy, Greece, Ireland, and Scotland, and of course, Mexico. And I had the best time and wonderful experiences, and I learned so much. My mom was always pointing out things and telling me to look at a building or a tree or some flowers. She wanted me to be more aware and then to observe and pay attention to the world around me. It was really important for my mom to make sure that I continued to learn new things and be the best person that I could be. And so she made sure I continued to learn new things. During the winters that we spent in Mexico, she helped me to get to the gym, hired a tennis instructor, took me to Pilates, where I met a wonderful instructor named Monica. Now she is my BFF, means best friend forever. My mom also insisted that I go meet a trainer named Orson. He has also become a special friend. I loved when I started art lessons with my sisters, dear friend Lloyd. He has taught me so many different art techniques, especially acrylic painting. My mom and I spent every summer and fall back in Michigan. I told her I wanted to take art classes at Schuylkill College, and she agreed and drove me 3 to 4 times a week to the different classes. I loved being a college student. And Mom knew how important that was for me. I especially loved ceramics. And she made sure that every fall I was in ceramic classes, which meant picking me up at 10 o'clock p.m. every Friday night and taking me back to the next day for the open studio. One time, my mom helped me hold a small art show in the lobby of our building in the marina, and last year she helped me pack many of my ceramic pieces to take to Mexico so that I could try and have another art show. Unfortunately, we could not make that happen because she was sick. When she was in the hospital in Houston, that is when, this is one of the things that she told Gigi to make sure that we do next year. She knew it was something very important to me. When we are in Puerto Vallarta, one of the things that was very important to my mom was that I go to the beach every Sunday with her and any of our friends or family that were visiting from out of town. There were many times that I did not want to go and would argue, and she would tell me how important it was special time with her and with the other people who are special to us. I remember many times walking on the beach with her, and we would collect small rocks and seashells. Gigi would always tell me that I needed to take advantage of the opportunity and never turn down a chance to be with my mom or to walk on the beach with her, because someday she would not be there and I would not be able to do it anymore. Now I know how important that was. I can never get that time back. I am going to miss walking on the beach with her and spending time with her. And I'm so glad that my mom forced me to go, even when I did not want to. My mom spent a lot of time and energy teaching me so many things. I learned household chores, including how to iron and do my laundry and get stains out of my clothes. Towards the end, when she was not feeling well, she needed more help, and especially when she could no longer walk. One of my jobs every day was to be the laundry. She started calling me, listen to this, laundry lady. And it was funny. And her way of joking around with me. My mom made sure that I learned how to cook and clean and cut veggies. We used to make big salads with lots of ingredients, and that we bought together at the farmer's market and grocery store. When I was 5 years old, she put me on vitamins so that my body and brain could grow and be as healthy as possible. And I love that. Once I grew up, we attended Shaklee meetings with food distributors every week at Charlene's house. And I loved learning about how all the vitamins and minerals work in the body. My mom also took me for chiropractic adjustments for the past 25 years. And now I understand how important it is to keep my body in alignment and in good health. When I was in school, she insisted that I take speech therapy for more years than my teacher recommended, because she said that until I spoke clearly, very clearly, I was not done. She used to tell me that it was important that everyone could understand me, so I would be accepted. She also made sure that I participated in activities with the normal kids. I loved being in brownies and Girl Scouts and going on the camping trips. As an adult, I also begged her to let me take karate classes, which I did for 5 years. 2 times, she even took me to the tournaments. Once in Branson, Missouri, and other time in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. My mom knew how much I enjoyed it. And so she supported me, even though she was by far the oldest mother in the audience. She thought it was so boring. And so she read her books until it was my turn. The other day, I found 2 birthday cards that my mom gave me. She wrote that she was very proud of me. Proud of me. And then I am their precious daughter, and I will always be their darling angel. And that they love me very much. This made me cry. Because I know how lucky I am. As I got older, my mom explained to me how happy she was that God chose her to be my mother. And he chose my wonderful dad too. My mom said she took the job very seriously, and she was going to be everything possible to make sure that I turned out to be the best person I could be. The best person. She had very high standards for me, and she was very strict. She always explained that it was for my benefit. When she was dying in the hospital, I thanked her for everything she did for me and everything she taught me. And I promised her that I was going to continue to make her proud and do everything the way she taught me. I am going to miss my mom so much. I thank Jesus that I had the best parents ever. Now that my mom is gone, I realize even more how lucky I am to have my wonderful sister Gigi and my 3 loving brothers and their wives. Who are all willing to support me and continue taking care of me where my mom left off. I am really grateful. I cannot imagine my life without them. Thank you so much.
karate tournament in downtown Detroit. Will you and Lori come down? We're like, oh, man, well, Julie's in a karate tournament. Really? This is bullshit, right? I'm not going to come down. So I said, okay, fine, we'll come down. And so Lori and I take our time, and we're late, and Lori's fucking, hey, let's go. And I'm like, Julie's in a karate tournament. God, this is BS, right? So we get downtown. It's in the Red Ascent on whatever, 50th floor or something. So we get lost in the building. We finally get up there, and when we get in there, we missed it. And so my mom's standing there, and she says, well, did you see Julie fight? And we were like, no, we got here late. Well, I said, where is she? And my mom points over there, and Larry goes, oh my God. And the only thing we could see was a trophy. It was like 4 feet tall. And Julie's holding the trophy, and it's like blocking her whole self. Like, well, what did you win? And she said, well, I won the one-on-one or something. And the over 40 women's division. We said, what? She said, yeah, I've had 3 fights, and we won the last fight. And so we're like saying, well, honey, that's great, and we're like, we're patronizing the heck out of her. And the woman walks up that she beat, and she's pissed. She's like this tall, and it said, thank you so much for letting my little sister win. And she goes, I didn't let her win. She got inside my gun and she rabbit punched me to death. True story. Hand up, champ. Hand up. So I'm sorry that we're going to do this again to you guys, and I apologize, but
No.
we all feel strongly about my mother, and so you're going to have to live with it, I suppose.
We're loving it.
We had a lot of fun together, particularly in the last 15 years. And so, anyways, Mom didn't believe that death was the end of anything. She believed it was a transition from here to someplace else, and we talked a little bit about that today, probably way more than we need to talk. But she thought that what was happening is that her loved ones who have gone before her are waiting on the other side, and all she was going to do was join them. You may have heard of the Day of the Dead. It's a Mexican tradition. The Day of the Dead, it comes from ancient cultures that Mom loved to study. So it comes from Aztec, or if you're down in Mexico talking to anybody in the archaeological world, it's Mexica. They can't stand that we say Aztec. And it came from Inca and it came from Maya. And it was all about their mythology, about spirituality, life, and whatnot. And Mom was loving it, and it became the Day of the Dead kind of fusion of culture between Christianity and the ancient religions of Mesoamerica that the Mexicans celebrate. Mom, of course, lived down there forever, and she fell in love with that spirituality, and so Day of the Dead was a big deal. And in the Day of the Dead, the Mexican tradition believes that you die 3 times. You die the first time that your heart stops beating and the plane that you're in becomes less recognizable to you. That's your first death. The second death is when you're put into the earth and you return to Pachamama, which down there that's the Earth Mother. And then your third death is when your friends and your family and your community, you've been gone so long that they don't speak your name anymore. And so today, it only happened once. Today, I just want to thank you guys for helping us keep Mom alive. And so let's keep telling her stories as we go forward so that she stays alive forever, because that's what she believed in. And before I go on with this, then, I'd just like to thank 3 women that are super important to me, who my mom loved desperately, like crazy, and they took care of her always. And that's Gigi and Julie and Donna. Okay, so now I'm going to get my readers out. Oh, it's Richard. How did you get away with it, by the way? Lee, did you do yours in 46 months? Or your eyes are good? Okay, so today I'd like to share 7 lessons from my mom that taught me how to live life to the fullest. I hope they inspire you as well. She would like that. Not coincidentally, 7 is a sacred number across all ancient teachings of spirituality, like Judaism, with God resting on the 7th day after creation, the 7 sacraments and 7 deadly sins in Christianity, 7 chakras and 7 sacred rivers in Hindu. And for the Inca, there are 7 colors in the rainbow, which bridges the upper world to Mother Earth, and many, many more. So lesson number 1, always be prepared. Mom always lectured us on being prepared. Contingency planning when she was younger, and comfort planning as she grew older. So every winter, on the first snowfall, Mom demanded that all of our cars had kitty litter and shovels in it for when we got stuck in snowbanks, and water, snacks, and blankets when we couldn't get out of the snowbanks. As she got a little bit older, she always carried a bottomless Mary Poppins bag wherever she went, and the contents magically changed as she flitted like a hummingbird to various gatherings and events with her bag holding exactly what she needed or what she wanted for each event she was at. For example, in her grease bag on our first excursion into Athens, it included but was not limited to aspirins, vitamins, sewing kit, sunscreen, a sweater, a sun visor, a Plaka district map, a short history of ancient Greece, Euros passport, spare shoes, an English to Greek phrase book, and I kid you not, a shaker of salt. But not just any shaker of salt. A shaker of special sea salt that she had to dress her Greek salad with when we went to lunch. And so who besides Fancy Pants carries their own special sea salt when they're on vacation, right? So always be prepared to make the most of every occasion. She would want that for you. Number 2, sit it out or dance. There's a country song by Leanne Womack which talks about engaging life without regrets. Mom probably never heard it, but she lived it. As a kid growing up in remote eastern Oregon, she rode pigs for fun, fished the river when the salmon ran, worked the garden and the orchard on the homestead, and lived in a shepherd's tent for 2 winters when they mined mercury in the hills. As a teenager, she went to boarding high school in Baker and teachers college in La Grande to earn her teaching degree. And if you think about that, that's a rare accomplishment for a woman in her 50s from a rural area that went all the way through college and got a degree. She moved across the country with her prize degree to start her life close to her older sister in Michigan. She fell in love, gave birth to 5 children, and raised them, all the while supporting her husband as he built a business that changed an industry. When directing the diaper folding brigade in the basement on Rexwood, she would blast Elvis Presley and dance with us while folding. And when driving across town for away games, she allowed us to run Chinese fire drills at red lights. She traveled the world, and she ultimately set up a new life in Mexico in the 1980s when it was still developing and every day was an adventure. Mimicking Richard's point, because he pissed me off that he beat me with this, is at 79 years old, with my family in PD, she scooted across the bay scooted across the bay on a Zodiac, rode donkeys into the mountains, zip-lined and rappelled down waterfalls. She boogie-boarded the waves, the wave sets at Nuevo until she was 87, only stopping when she was too weak to stand in the surf. She rarely turned down any kind of invitation to be with people, try something new, or enjoy something she loved, culinary. And always, she stayed on the beach at Kite until sunset. So whenever you have the chance to sit it out or dance, my mom would want you to choose to dance. Number 3, take a stand. Mom had an acceptance for all kinds of people and all kinds of conduct. Sometimes infuriating to me as she refused to hold people accountable. Rather, and not unsurprisingly, she chose instead to leave it up to karma. It was not her responsibility, Jimmy, in this lifetime to judge. However, there were times when she laid down the law, when something or someone was just too out of bounds even for her. And it happened most remarkably in her 50s, at least for me, when she straightened out my dad when he was acting like an ass. And trust me, that's no easy thing to do. I've tried many times to make my way through Meditations by Marcus Aurelius for my entire life with checkered success. However, there is a famous bit in it about willpower, which paints a perfect portrait of Mom whenever she set her jaw and leaned into the wind. It goes like this: be like a rocky promontory against which the restless surf continues to pound. It stands fast while the churning sea is lulled to sleep at its feet. So when something is truly important, be judicious in your deliberations, brave in your convictions, and then take a stand and choose the harder right, and allow those waves to break upon your resolve. Number 4, make a difference. Naturally and automatically and completely normal. She opened her home, abdicated her privacy, and allowed her family dynamic to be disrupted in order to welcome those who were dying, those who needed a place to stay to reconstitute their lives, recuperate from injuries or devastating loss, those in the winter of their life moving toward a transition, or in the spring, needing love, understanding, and a hand up. Mom welcomed them all and gave them sanctuary without a second thought. Mom made a difference in people's lives. When you have the chance to make a difference, make a difference. Number 5, make your own positive energy. Mom approached life with stubborn optimism. She accepted things happen for a reason, but always looked to find positive lessons from her experiences. When I was a kid, the company was new and we were broke. It was winter and I needed new shoes. Mom charged a pair on her new Sears charge card, of which she was just so proud. Lee always got skinny jeans, by the way, and I always got Huskies, which also pissed me off. So, and Sears guys know that, okay? Anyways, it was these charge cards were the ancestors of modern day credit cards, and at the time, no one really knew how they worked. At least my mom didn't, and she thought my dad didn't. And so Dad went nutso about more new debt, and cussing like only my dad knew how to cuss, because you can't compare him to anything else. He bellowed for me to present myself and give proof of need on the shoes. As he inspects them, he says, "Yep, 2 sizes too small. Yep, the sole is cracked." Mom's now excited because she's calm that this thing is going to work out, right? And she turns to him and she's going to turn this negative situation into a positive one, is what she always did. And she says, "Jim, honey, I'm not exactly sure what you're worried about here. We owe them the money. We're broke. They should be worried." And I've never, ever lost that my whole life. Lori and I are in some pickle, which we've been in many times with some of my great business decisions. I look at her and we laugh and I say, "Honey, we owe them the money." So when you come face to face, nothing is ever gained focusing energy in a negative way. Shine some light onto it and turn it into your own positive energy. Number 6, follow your heart. Anahata, the heart chakra, is said to be the home of the higher infinite, peace and openness, which allows for unconditional love. The heart is the purest reflection of who you are as a human. And so if Mom's heart actually reflected who she was as a human, it would reflect her as a gypsy. Some distant past life, she must have been a gypsy, free-spirited, an adventurer exploring new places, meeting new people, and wandering wherever the wind blew her. In this lifetime, whenever she followed her heart, she channeled her gypsy past, which was her most present self. She was the most joyous, carefree, and childlike on an adventure of discovery, openly expressing awe and experiencing and learning anything new. If you want to find your purest self, then follow your heart. Where's Pete? So thank you. Pete gave Mom a lot of that in Mexico. Number 7, be a seeker. Edgar Cayce, Reincarnation and Karma. Gavin Menzies, 1421, the year the Chinese discovered America. Sandra Bowen, Mystery of the Crystal Skulls Revealed. Eric von Daniken, Chariots of the Gods. James Redfield, Celestine Prophecy, and about 20 more just like them, which are part of my library as gifts from my mother. She wasn't satisfied with the limitations of the status quo when juxtaposed with the evidence suggesting that the real answers are to be infinitely more interesting. The beautiful obituary written by Gigi alluded to her to being a seeker of knowledge, which is certainly true. And Gigi provided measured insight into her spirituality in that obituary to avoid painting Mom with too fine a brush. Not so with me. If you knew my mother well, then you were aware of her spiritual beliefs, not faith, beliefs. Taking a line from Game of Thrones, Mom believed in the old gods and the new, but she liked the old gods a lot better. They made better sense to her, particularly the common threads she found in the mythology of all of the ancient stone cultures. Duality, harmony with nature, the chi weaving it all together, celebration and heavenly observations that the sun would return on the winter solstice, which was our father's birthday, which was no coincidence for my mother. And most importantly, communion with ancestors. She was a strong believer in reincarnation, and she knew that my father was waiting for her on the other side. Mom knew that the wonder of the world was in things that cannot be explained. So, don't expect more from life if you aren't willing to seek more. be a seeker. Teasingly, my family cast Mom, Gigi, and Julie as the Mexican Golden Girls. My goodness, how they loved one another, sniped one another, and supported one another in their weird, dysfunctional way. Mom's unexpected death cut the Golden Girls short by 13 years. You see, Mom was hellbound to live to 100. She wanted to outlive Grandma Golick, lovingly referred to in my family as Shuffles, who helped raise us. But the universe wasn't having it. Mom was called home early. She was only 87. She didn't get to 100. And she was angry as hell to miss her mark. When she realized that her death was imminent, she taught us one last lesson, which was how to die with strength and dignity. At the end, once again, remarkable. Mom was like a headland against the waves of any doubt or fear of death, broke against the resolve of her beliefs. Grandma Golek would have called her a magaret and that's Croatian for like a donkey. And if you've never been called a magaret then you didn't hang out with Grandma Golek enough. Mom stubbornly accepted her death from our world and graciously transitioned to the next. There's a Lebanese poet, prophet that I like. His name is Khalil Gibran, and he says on death, to sum things up, for what is it to die but to stand naked in the wind and to melt into the sun? And what is it to cease breathing but to free breath from its restless tides, that it may rise and expand and seek God unencumbered? I know how I will fill the void in my soul. I will channel my mom when the wind blows, when the sun warms my face, and when the cold stings my fingers. She is now part of the chi and part of God unencumbered. Thank you.
I did keep thinking about all the different things that, I would want to say, and then I finally narrowed in on I should talk about our friendship and our relationship. And while my mom was dying, I called some of my friends and told them. And after she died, I talked to some more of my friends. And so I decided to base some of this on everybody's reactions. And there's no way I'm going to read the whole thing. I think that there's pertinent parts. Okay, so where do I begin to try and explain and put into words to try to capture the essence of my mother and best friend? Our relationship was the greatest gift of my life, and I was fortunate enough to have my mother in my life for 58 years. We both greatly appreciated our good fortune and expressed our gratitude every day. For at least the last 15 years that I've been in Mexico, I got to see her every day. I would hug her and tell her how much I loved her and tell her how I appreciated having her in my life and that I couldn't imagine my life without her. And she'd smile and give me a kiss and tell me she couldn't imagine her life without me either. And we'd hug again. And this became something that we did every day. One of my girlfriends said that it's one of the biggest things that she admired in our relationship is that nothing went unsaid. That we were able to tell each other anything and everything. And I thought about that, and it's true, it's very special. I think it's one of the reasons why she was my best friend, because she made it safe. I never felt judged or shamed, no matter how difficult or embarrassing or painful a situation was, and no matter what a big mistake or bad decision I had made. I could always turn to her knowing that I would receive the support or the encouragement or the validation or the compassion that I needed at the time. She believed in me, she built me up, never tore me down. She found the good or the positive in everything, and she helped me explore the reason why something needed to happen. And she helped me identify the life lessons that needed to come from each experience. Now that is a best friend. She allowed me to be authentically me, and I did the same for her. When I posted on Facebook that Mom had died, I made a very conscious decision to say that besides her being my mom and my best friend, that she was also my life partner. The positive, tearful reactions I received from my friends and family were extremely validating. Mom said that she hadn't thought of it that way. Most of the people said that they hadn't thought of it that way, but they agreed that it was true. Our lives are so intertwined and overlapping. Our daily lifestyle was that of any couple interacting, entertaining, socializing, traveling. And there was that unspoken expectation that we'd be there for each other no matter what. And we were, time and time again. My friends were her friends. Whenever I met somebody new and introduced them to my mom, they gravitated immediately to her. No one ever questioned why I had this older person hanging around. Instead, they all related to her, and age was never a factor. Everywhere I went, I received so many compliments about her, and I was always told how lucky I was to have her for my mother. I wrote in the obituary that Mom created, often credited her vitality, youthful attitude, and approach to life to her choice to hang around people 30 or more years younger because she found them fun and interesting. And all of my friends who read that comment told me how true that was. Looking around this room right now, most everyone's in their 50s or early 60s because you are our friends, mine or my brother's friends. But you're not just here supporting us because we lost our mom. You're here because most of you knew our mom. You interacted with her. You had conversations with her. You spent time with her. You created your own connection with her. Depending on how long you've known her, you have your own stories and memories. I spent hours on the phone with my friends, many who couldn't be here, who feel they lost someone dear to them. They too valued my mom as a confidant. Some related to her more as their own mother, someone that they could learn from. They valued her intellect and wisdom. They lost someone that they used to have coffee with, or that they would sit up at night for hours talking to, or someone who made them feel valued, or that they could laugh or cry or just be happy. And everyone remembers her laugh, and everyone feels endearingly connected to her. Can you imagine how humbling it was for me to realize this? To realize that my friends are truly grieving along with me. What a beautiful gift. My mom was inclusive. She was very accepting of people and enjoyed getting to know them and learning their life stories. She taught us to be inclusive, not exclusive. She would say, it was always better to invite the person and give them the chance to say no or to feel uncomfortable, but not to decide for them. You never know who would be thrilled to be included. She demonstrated this to me over and over again throughout the years. For her, it was all about the gatherings. She loved getting people together who didn't know each other. I heard stories of this since her college days, and I experienced it with her throughout my life. Together, we ended up with the neatest mix of people from so many different walks of life, interests, and experiences. We were both fascinated and found it intriguing to meet somebody who had lived in Brazil, or grown up in Colombia, or Peru, or who had been through a near-death experience, or who had been paralyzed and could not walk and then became healed completely. Yes, all of these people do exist, and they are our friends. One of the things I started doing at our parties was to go around and introduce each person and tell how we knew them and how they knew the other people in the room. It created instant connection, lots of laughs, and an appreciation for each person's individuality. I feel a strong urge to do it here, but there's too many of you. I will say that there are people here who have come from out of town, who made great efforts to be here, and it doesn't go unnoticed, and we're all very aware of it, and it means the world to us. For Mom, life was to be celebrated. We were fortunate enough to enjoy the past 15 years together in Mexico when I moved back from Chicago. We had so many dinner parties and gatherings, whether it was one of our birthdays, Valentine's Day, or just because different people were coming into town. We looked so forward to getting everyone together. Besides the fun and satisfaction of getting a huge variety of people together, she loved to entertain. The details excited her. The decorations for the event, from the table settings and special serving dishes to the beautiful floral arrangements, special coffees, Kahlua, and desserts. It was all about the pleasure and enjoyment. The details were also meaningful and therefore memorable. Everyone greatly appreciated it and looked forward to the next one. That's what I'm trying to live up to today. This is exactly what Mom would have done. She did Christmas the same way. She spent days and hours decorating the house. The Christmas tree was loaded with individually chosen ornaments, which were hung precisely, and the gifts were wrapped beautifully. Knowing this, you can imagine the fun we had planning my wedding, or my 50th birthday party, or Julie's Hawaiian-themed 40th birthday party, and so many other special occasions. One time she even flew to Chicago to help me throw a beautiful Christmas party in my condo with all the new friends that I had met. We also grew together. She often led the way. Our lives were enriched and our minds were opened to many new concepts. We shared our belief in past lives, spirit guides, grandmasters, and energy work. She read many more books than I did on so many of the subjects. She was always learning, and then she'd tell me about them. We thoroughly enjoyed pursuing it, reading about it, experiencing it, talking about it, and we made it safe for each other to share, even when we knew other people wouldn't agree or thought we were crazy. Not surprisingly, Mom attracted healers and forward-thinking people who had already embraced many of these concepts, and many of them, and one by one, they kept coming into our life. After we saw the first clairvoyant named Camille in Ann Arbor, Mom continued to see her and work with her and took several of her classes at Schoolcraft College, including dream interpretation. We traveled together for a 5-day retreat with a shaman to the ancient city of Teotihuacan outside Mexico City. Not knowing exactly what to expect, but we knew we'd be intrigued by the ancient civilizations that inhabited this magnificent and highly energetic place. On the last day, we walked all the way to the top of the Pyramid of the Sun. We walked around the outside edges, ascending in a spiral. Mom dedicated it to releasing all of her repressed feelings related to my dad's Alzheimer's. She sobbed, crying the whole way up. And once we were at the top, the entire group sat back to back and participated in a vibrational connection and release. Mom was so free after that. While Mom laid in the hospital in Houston, knowing that she was dying, I asked her to help me once she passed on as a spirit. I said, come back and help me with my project in Quebesto. I really need a lot of guidance on that. And it'd be really great if you could help me find a great guy. She smiled, and with her great wit, she told me, and I have to tell you, she could barely talk, so it was more like, I already have. And so she said, I already have, found you a guy. And I'm like, who do you know that I don't know? And she said, he's on my dresser in my room. And I tried to imagine her dresser and if there was a photo or what there was. What was she talking about? And she smiled and she said, Archangel Michael. So I was very humbled by that. I knew how much she wanted me to embrace a connection with him. Also understanding that she was telling me that the more I turned to Archangel Michael, the more help he would give me with the things I was asking her to help me with. Especially if I agreed to work hard on developing a relationship. Then she moved her finger and pulled me close so I could hear her again. And she said, I should have taught you more. I smiled and said, you taught me so much. So some of the things that she taught me, and some of the ways that she was ahead of her time. She always tells the story of how she was the only mother in the maternity ward after I was born that was breastfeeding, as if that was cutting edge, and no one else was. And the nurses would come in and see how she was doing it. She immediately knew that Shapley vitamins that were all natural, made from food, were incomparably superior to synthetic ones. And she stood her ground when she was challenged and accused of being gullible to the sales pitch and ridiculous for paying more than double the price of the synthetic ones. She didn't care how much my father criticized her, she insisted she was going to buy them. She knew that she felt immediately better, and she was determined to rebuild Julie's immune system. And of course, she was right. She advocated for my education. We started off in public schools, at a very average one at that. By the time I was in 6th grade, she had had it. She was furious when she would see the shining grades that I would get on a paper, and when the grammar and punctuation were terrible. The teacher told her that compared to the other kids, I was one of the best students. And my mom answered, I don't want you grading her according to the other students. I want you grading her according to her work. How do you expect her to learn? That summer, she attracted the solution. 1 week before school started, she heard about a private Catholic school in Farmington, Our Lady of Sorrows. She called, and there was a waiting list. Not to be discouraged, she put my name on, even though there were 10 people ahead. And the day before school began, she received the call that I had been accepted. Without hesitation, every morning, she drove me to school and picked me up. Mom stood her ground. She knew what she believed to be true, and she didn't let anything stop her. She was extremely dedicated and made every effort. Needless to say, this changed my life and my brothers, who all started there the following year. As an adult looking back, I often credit her with a huge life lesson that came from selling Girl Scout cookies. She encouraged me to call everyone in the neighborhood and handed me the directory of the people that lived in the subdivision. Of course, I started with the ones I knew first. I received a lot of orders and I was happy and satisfied. And then she told me that I had to keep calling the rest. She insisted that I call the people I didn't know. And when I resisted, she said, what's the worst thing that can happen? They'll say no. So what? Tell them thank you and call the next one. I'm sure you can imagine I sold the most boxes of cookies that year. And by an amount that far outnumbered any of the other girls in my troop. It felt really good. My mom taught me not to fear rejection and not to worry about the ones that say no. The people in our life who aren't ready or who aren't interested. This has carried me through so many situations in my life. It's an exercise in building self-confidence. Another thing she taught was not to worry. It was wasted energy. She didn't attach to problems or to things out of her control. It was an amazing thing to witness and one that I want to continue to have in my life. Here's an example of how she was always there for me. I was at Eastern Kentucky University and I needed to take 3 more classes that summer in order to start the nursing program the following fall. The problem is they started 2 weeks before I finished at Eastern Kentucky and I had to do finals. I thought absolutely nothing of calling my mom and asking her to go to my classes for me, and she did. She took copious notes in 2 different American history classes at OCC, and she went to Madonna in microbiology, and she even went to the labs.
Oh my God.
She told me she was writing down words she didn't even know what they meant. When I got back and I started going to class, I walked into the microbiology lab and all the students said, oh my God, you're the one whose mom was here? She's been at my side as I faced different life challenges, university, relationships, the joy of my marriage, the pain of my divorce, and many more over the years. I was at her side through all the challenge of my father's Alzheimer's and recently through her illness and her dying process. She knew I'd be at her side for everything that had to do with her health or anything that she needed in that illness during that time. There was so much confusion, it produced a lot of anxiety, a lot of not knowing what was going on, a lot of desperate searching for answers. I sought for the answers, I called all the doctors, I took her for so many tests. She knew I was there fighting for her and that nothing else mattered. I eventually stopped working and barely left her side. My unquestionable, unwavering commitment was more than that of best friends. It was deeper. It was like a life partner. Nothing and no one else mattered. She was my entire focus. Sometimes she would feel guilty about it and apologize. And I would immediately calm her and say it was okay. I went somewhere else. I'd become her advocate, her voice. I was the one fighting for her, the way she fought for me and for all my siblings. I stood up to doctors, I followed my instincts, I gathered the information, and I kept track of the test results. It was her turn to receive all that she had done for us with the same unwavering love and commitment. It was and always will be the unconditional love. Having her at my side provided an intangible sense of safety. Having me at her side provided an intangible sense of safety and security, as she did as a mother to us. And I just want to say that that was the absolute gift of this dying process. You know, I don't know if there's a better way or a worse way. Richard alluded, I think, to the fact that she was so lucid and that we could include her in decisions and that we could talk to her about things and we could call people and we could give everybody a chance to talk even if she couldn't answer very much. And it was unbelievably done with a calm. And when the neurosurgeon figured out what was happening in her spine and the lymph node was pressing on her nerve and it was complete compression and there was nothing we could do to bring the nerve back and she couldn't walk and nothing else was functioning, her bowels, her bladder, nothing because of this nerve. She just shrugged her shoulders. And she said, you know, it's all right, this is it. And I'm like, Mom, do you want me to take you to Michigan? Do you want me to take you back to Mexico? What do you want? She goes, what for? It's okay. And her calmness calmed us. Then we talked about, okay, who needs to come see you? What else do we need to do? Richard brought his 2 kids in. Julie flew in from Mexico. We had this amazing day of life review with photos that we happened to have with us. She sat in bed the whole day. She allowed it. She was present. The next morning she woke up and she said, is there anybody else coming? And I said, no, Mom. Everybody else who's going to come has come. She says, oh, good. And I said, it's time for more morphine, isn't it? She said, yes. The day before when Richard was asking, Mom, you know, I don't want to put you through this, okay? We don't have to bring my kids. And she said, no, it's all right. And she told me, call everyone else. And then you have to remember always it was so hard for her to talk. And so I leaned in again and she said, everyone must be considered. That's absolutely how she lived her life. Absolutely, to the T. And she did it. She bravely got through Saturday. It was as healing for her as it was for any of us. We increased the morphine on Sunday. She would sleep, and when she'd wake up, she'd smile, she'd wink, she'd kiss us. Richard would force her to eat more ice cream. She'd drink water. And we had the most amazing, amazing letting go and farewell experience. And I know that she called the whole thing in. But my point is that there wasn't any of the feelings that you would think that somebody would go through. Being angry that this is it. Oh, I'm not going to be able to see this. I'm not going to be present for that. I think she skipped right past it all. That's all our ego and that's all what we think here. And she was just in the next level. And it was just as simple as can be for her. And I felt that calmness the whole time, and I know Richard did too, the whole time that we were with her. And we tried to transmit it to everybody that we were calling and everyone that was talking to her. And I thought, you know, she's teaching us, this educator is teaching us till the absolute last minute. And she did. It was amazing. And I'm extremely grateful to her. I'm extremely grateful for what she's done for this family. I can't imagine going forward without my 3 brothers and my sister. Amazing sister-in-laws and my most fantastic nieces and nephews. And they know I don't have this. They know what it's like for me that I lost Mom. But I have all of you. And I have all the friendships. And it means the absolute world to me that you're here. And thank you with everything in me and from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. I don't know when anybody needs to leave.
If I wouldn't be married to you, I would marry them.
We'd be the Golden Girls. I love my Monica. Thank you for bringing her and my Andrea to the world. It's so lucky to have each
You
other.
know what? Your mom's legacy, as told by you, is like a master class in life and love.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Just beautiful. There's a lesson for us all.
Thank you. It means a lot. It really means a lot. It's so hard to encapsulate. It's so hard to,
I think you guys did it. You and your so
and
considered.
Jimmy is such a writer and a speaker. I had to force her. She was sobbing, crying, telling me there was no way she was going to do it. And I said, yes, you have a lot to say. No one else can tell your story. And she stopped crying. And she goes, well, then, I don't know what to write. You know, and so I said, oh, it's just talk. What is it? I spoke. I did voice to text into my phone. And before I knew it, I had a lot of stuff. So then I put it in this and she could read, and then I would read it to her. And she'd go, no, I would use that word. I'm like, okay, let's use your word. And we did this, and then she spent a week practicing it.
Do you really? I said, flip up phone. Do you really? I want to see a picture too, please. The three of us.
Okay.
She got me another phone.